Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisNews. In today's video we're talking more Madam Web. We've got some interesting information revealed about the film coming in from Entertainment Weekly. But before we do get into that, I do want to urge you guys to subscribe because this is your #1 YouTube channel in 2024 for all types of Spider-Man news. With that being said, let's get straight into this. So this comes from Entertainment Weekly, who have got an exclusive article on Madam Web. We got some new images revealed as well, but they're not anything too exciting. They're just different angles of some shots that we've already seen from set photos and the trailer, so nothing too much to talk about there. But the most interesting thing to talk about is actually some of the details for the film that have been revealed. So as we do know, early set photos from the film revealed that this film would take place in the early 2000s, and many people theorize the reason for this is obviously because this is going to take place before Peter Parker is actually born. We know that this baby in the trailer with Emma Roberts on screen right now is supposedly meant to be Peter Parker, because the film is going to be about Ezekiel Sims, who is going to be time traveling Terminator style to try and kill Mary Parker before Peter Parker is even born, and subsequently meaning that all the Spider people, Spider Women, Spider Men, whoever may come after Peter Parker won't end up existing, or at least that was what the film was meant to be about. Either way, the film was to take place in the early 2000s. Now it has actually been officially confirmed that this film will take place in 2003, which means that yes, this film will take place in the early 2000s, and it looks like the plot surrounding the birth of Peter Parker is actually going to be a massive part of this film based on what we know. However, that's not the most interesting piece of information that we've actually got from Entertainment Weekly. We've actually got another crucial bit of information that answers a lot of our questions as to where the Sonyverse is going to be going and what it is going to be doing in the future. And get this, Madam Web will be set in its own separate universe. Yes, it will not be connected to Venom. It will not be connected to Kraven the Hunter. It isn't in the general Sonyverse. Madam Web is in its own separate universe, which I guess makes sense, right? Because it deals with elements of the multiverse, and I guess trying to explain where Madam Web, where Julia Carpenter, where all these other Spider-Women were during the events of Venom would be quite hard to explain, because Venom takes place in 2018, Madam Web takes place in 2003, which means that for a good part of 15 to 20 years, Spider-Women would have been kicking about. In fact, 4 of them would, and by that point you would expect Peter Parker to as well. So it does explain away that element of the story, because those were a few questions that we did have going into this. You know, if this film is set in the early 2000s, then where are all the Spider-Women? Where is Peter Parker that is supposed to be the central point of this movie? What is going to happen with the rest of the Sonyverse? You know, is Venom going to somehow connect to this? What's going to happen? Who knows? But it turns out that Madam Web is set in its own separate universe, which I think is really, really interesting. But what does this mean for the future of the Sonyverse? What does this mean for the future of Madam Web and potential sequels? Are we going to see sequels and movies just strictly dedicated to the Madam Web universe, or are we going to see movies that connect Madam Web to the larger Sonyverse? Well, my opinion is, I think with obviously all the multiverse stuff going on right now with Marvel, even DC doing it as well, I think it's very entirely possible that, you know, we can't really say that they're not going to make sequels, but I also think that sequels to Madam Web, where they use the same characters, where Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, whoever comes back to reprise their roles, I think it'll probably be in the Sonyverse. I think some way, shape or form, this movie is going to connect through the multiverse to the larger Sonyverse. And obviously with all that ongoing debate with the MCU potentially merging with the Sonyverse after Secret Wars going on as well, I think there's definitely a very big likelihood, very big possibility that these characters at some point or another will be on the same screen as, you know, the MCU characters, Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So, you know, I think they definitely will connect to the Sonyverse. I think there won't be any sequels in the Madam Web universe, but I do definitely think they will be transported to the Sonyverse one way or another, because Sony are building to something. Regardless of whether we think this MCU merger will happen or not, or whether Tom Holland's Spider-Man will cross over, I think it is definitely likely that Sony are still planning some kind of multiversal event, whatever it may be. We know we've had rumors about them wanting to use Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man for a very long time. time. So they're trying to build to something. We just don't know what it is yet. But yeah, I think we'll probably see them appear in the actual Sonyverse at some point down the line. Maybe even a sequel. Who knows? It depends how well this film does. With that being said, that is it for today's news. I think that's very interesting. We've got a lot more answers now than we do questions. I think we had a lot of questions going into this movie's production, but now we've got them answered. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.